Hello everyone, this is Tejasvi and I am here today with a brand new tutorial series of Docker containers. Now the thing is, this tutorial series is quite different than the other ones that are present out there on different platforms. The reason is, in this tutorial series I am going to explain everything about Docker. We will be building a lot of projects around Docker, how things work in the enterprises. We will be building the Docker files, and we will be alongside we will be building the images of the applications, and then we are going to deploy with the Docker Compose, and I will be going to explain everything about networking and all. So this is a overview of what all things are covered in the course. With the initial one, we will start with the introduction to containers. In this we will be discussing on how the infrastructure used to be before the development of virtual machines and before the containers were there. We will be briefing about containerizations and what is Kubernetes, how does it work, just a brief overview. Then we will be discussing about the Docker containers, in which some of the histories of that, the open source projects and the open container initiatives. Then we will be installing Docker on 2 different platforms, on Mac, on Linux and on Windows. Then we will just overviewing the entire thing from the operations perspective, from the development perspective. We will be setting up Docker onto the machines. We will start the daemon engines, and then we will be looking at a sample of like pulling the images from the hubs and then creating of the containers using the terminal. And then we will also attach one shell to the running containers to see what's going on inside. And from the developer's perspective, we will be looking at how we can write a new Docker file to create the image for an application, and then we will also run that container alongside. Now this is just an overview till now. We will be going deep into the architecture, like how the Docker is what it is today. So we will be looking at the old architecture, how Docker was previously. We will be looking at how Docker has modified its entire architecture to be to make it less coupled. We will be looking at the runc and then the containerd environment, and what is the process when we start a new container, how does it proceed into the Docker engine and onto the servers. Then we will be doing the deep dive onto the Docker images. These Docker images basically we will create on our own. We will understand the architecture of the images, and then we will be even pulling the images, and then we will be deleting the images, even publishing them onto the Docker Hub. Then we will be looking at the containers. At this section, we will be creating new containers from existing images. We will be understanding the life cycle of the containers, how we can start a new container, how we can shut down those containers, the self-healing containers, and we will be working on a small project around a web server. We'll be deploying a web server inside a container, and we will take a look how this entire thing works. Then we will be having a project. We will be doing the containerization of the entire app. In this we will be having an app which is already written by the developers, and we will be actually building the image written in the Docker file, and then we will publish that image to the Docker Hub. We will be run the app. We will be doing different kinds of builds, like multi-stage build. We will be squashing the images, and then once this containerization is completed, we will be looking at Docker Compose. So Docker Compose and Docker Swarm, there's a pretty lengthy there will be a pretty lengthy video on that, where I will be explaining each and everything about how this Docker Compose works and how Docker Swarm works, the services, features, scaling, troubleshooting, everything. Then we will be looking at the Docker network. There will be the theory, how this network model is. We'll be looking at lib network, and then we will be looking at the drivers as well. Then we will also take a look on some of the bridges like single host bridge networks and then multi-host overlay networks. We'll be looking at how we can connect to the existing networks, service discovery, ingress networking, and networking commands at a glance. Then we'll be looking at Docker overlay networking. We can build and test a Docker overlay network in a swarm mode. We can test it, and then a little bit theory on how everything works. Then we'll be looking at volumes and data persistence, which is a quite I think which is very important topic, because a lot of applications export a lot of data, including the logs and everything, and we also sometimes need configuration files that should be mounted onto the running container. So we'll be looking on how all these things can be done. Then we will see the security which is present in the Docker. Okay, namespaces, control groups, everything. And then we will be deploying the Docker apps using Docker stacks. We will be looking a few of the tools for the enterprise, and then we will be looking some of the enterprise grade features, which involves RBAC controls, Active Directory integrations, and then all. And then at the end of the entire course, we will be having a bonus section in which I will explain how we can secure the communication between a Docker client and a Docker daemon. So this all is covered in this entire course. It will be pretty long, and I hope it will help you in the long run. These all the things that I will be explaining will be extremely deep, and I don't think you can get any other course like this.